if Zillow is serious about really entering into the transaction, because it's hard to tell. Like at first, everybody said Zillow's becoming an iBuyer so that they can generate more seller leads and like make more money. And if that's the case, then Zillow's gonna just kind of keep doing what Zillow's been doing for a long time. But if they're very, very serious, which Rich Barton jumping in as CEO and kind of doing what he's done over the last couple of years would signal to me that they are pretty serious about getting involved and owning the transaction. And if that's the case, it would be hard to say that anybody is more. I would say that they're the top one or two most poised, ready to take over the number one position as anyone. But they don't have it today. They're very far from the customer transaction today. And what they're doing is they're partnering with real estate agents and real estate teams to figure out how to get closer to the transaction. They're doing the iBuyer model, which gets them closer to the transaction. So they're doing a lot of the things that gets them closer. But just like a KW or a Compass or the more traditional brokerage brands are not close to the transaction, and the lead platforms are also not close to the transaction. Who's close to the transaction today? The real estate agent and the real estate team. Like that's who's close to the transaction today. And so what you're finding is like Opendoor now looks a lot like a real estate team. Redfin looks a lot like a real estate team. Those guys are very Orchard. These companies are looking a lot more and more like a real estate team that's venture backed, that has a unique value proposition, and they're trying to scale that up. So it'll be interesting. Like, is it going to be the sort of traditional model that empowers the agent, or the sort of like D2C team model, that is harder to scale up? But since they're backed by venture, maybe they'll figure out how to make it happen. And I don't know. I would have told you 5 years ago, I would have said the team model is taking over the industry, and that is the future of real estate. And companies like Redfin is what you'll see everywhere. But the fact that Redfin has still not been able to take significant market share makes me wonder, will Opendoor be able to take significant market share? Will Zillow be able to transition their significant market share of consumer eyeballs into significant transaction market share? Nobody's proven that to be easy. So I think whatever happens, nothing's happening overnight. It's going to take a long time.
I mean, you got to have a lot of boots on the ground, you need to have a lot of boots on the ground to gain substantial market share. And NAR was formed in 1908. And then I think it quadrupled its membership in the 1970s. And my point is it's taken 100 years to build this massive workforce of salespeople representing consumers. So it's going to take a long time for these companies. No matter how much money they have, it's going to take them a long time to build a massive workforce.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think that's it. It's time. So here, if you ask me the question this way, what do I think the real estate landscape is going to look like 100 years from now? I'll tell you that I think it's going to look a lot like Redfin, probably with even less agent involvement, if any agent involvement. But you're going to see one streamlined or maybe multiple unified solutions though that handle the entire home buying and selling experience. Likely self-led, likely digital, likely self-led, and maybe with hyper-local remote advisory from real estate agent type people. That's like 100 years from now. So I believe the Redfin model, or the Heyl Group, or the Waters International Realty, like the team model. And I keep going back to Redfin because they've scaled it way above and beyond anything you and I have done. So I keep going back to them. But the team model that integrates mortgage and title and insurance and kind of these other pieces on a digital platform is what I believe it's going to look like long term. But like, could Compass and KW and these other traditional brokerages get there? Yeah, because the thing is, it's not happening in 3 years. I don't think it's not happening in 5 years. I think we're a ways from getting to like this future state of bliss for home buyers in real estate. And I think it's anyone's game. I think like what Zillow has going for them is access to capital, and essentially the most of anyone, and access to eyeballs, the most of anyone, right? If you had the most eyeballs and the most capital, you'd be in a pretty damn good spot. So I would say Zillow, like, it's theirs to lose, honestly. I think that KW has they have maybe the most agents from a
Workforce.
yeah. So which also gets them the most eyeballs. But they are privately owned. It's a different structure. There's different things there. Like each person has their own. With teams, teams have the most control, but we have the least amount of capital, right? The least amount of scalability, and we have a lot of control, but we're managing field teams. And so when you have salespeople in the field in all these markets, it's not like building a tech company. It's, you and I both know how difficult it is to run on the ground, boots on the ground sales teams in multiple markets all over the country. It's hard to scale up. And when you're bootstrapping a business like that, access to capital is you have the opposite as a Zillow. Like Zillow's got the eyeballs and the money, which you have none of as a real estate team. But what you have as a real estate team is you have control. You are running the transaction.